So I think the fireworks are all loaded. And we're ready to celebrate because not only is it time for High Vive number 6, not only do we have a wonderful returning guest in Twin A to the show, but yes, folks, it is one of the big ones. SUPERVIVE has a release date. All that and more on this episode. First of all, introductions, though. As always, I'm just Reliq, your humble host. I'm joined, as always, by the maddest of magical men. How you doing, my man?
Doing good. I'm awake. I'm excited about this because it has been a long time coming, finding out about the 1.0, but we'll hold off on that discussion for a little bit.
8 a.m. recording time, by the way. You can tell that he's tired because there was no train whistle. And Twin A, welcome back. How have you been? What have you been up to?
Let's go! Let's freaking go! 1.0,
Yes!
we have the date. I'm good. I haven't slept. I need more coffee because I'm just so excited. This is it. We are there. It's within reach. The goal, the light. We're in the final sprint. We just all have to do our parts. I'm great. Life's good.
Life is good. I'll apologize if there's any interference on my mic. Again, full clarity. It's now 31 degrees here in the UK. For any outsider hearing that number, 30 degrees Celsius, and thinking, what on earth? It's the UK. It's a very small microclimate, and also it's an island nation. It is sweltering right now. So I've got a fan here. I've got both windows open. Hope you understand if any motorbiker comes past or if there are any loud noises. That's what's going on in the background. On today's episode, it is chock-a-block. It might be a long one. We'll see how it pans out. Obviously, talking about SUPERVIVE, release date, and the press release that comes with it. We have some extra information from overseas, Billy with some sneak peeks of UI, first skin line. Yes, you heard right, a skin line, not just individual skins. And our first new Hunter reveal since Carbine, Wukong. It's a character that transcends all games. We're going to be getting an edition of this mythical character in SUPERVIVE. And is that causing a bit of burnout? Certainly a mixed reaction from the fan base. We're going to be discussing that. Alongside Abyssal Cup 4, we thought that Abyssal Cup 2 would not be topped in open beta as the best tournament of all time. Turns out it was. More on that later. And stuck right at the end, there was a patch last week. It's tiny. We will touch upon it as part of the over-encompassing storyline of today. But before we get to that storyline, what is it? It's the curious question of the pod. Of course, we have to start with one. And it's one that is, I think, actually pretty interesting, considering that we are now looking at 1.0, where all of the feedback from all of you guys in the community has been implemented, and we'll see whether the devs truly have cooked. This question comes in from Anayon Katayon. Lovely individual. She was one of the real standout stars, I would say, in early, Project Loki, early SUPERVIVE alpha play tests and play matches. Lovely individual. So thank you so very much for your question, Anayon. And it is this. What is depth? It's a keyword, and I think I'll give you two lads a bit of time to cook, because I think that there's definitely a few ways that you can come at this from. For me, personally, go on.
If you look at the definition, it's the distance from the top of the surface to the bottom of something.
There you go.
Or it's
gonna do the same thing.
Oh, no way.
Or it's the quality of being intense or extreme. So
it's comedy, baby. It's comedy, and we're all clearly linked. All clearly linked in on the joke, but I don't think there's a lot of people that are fully aligned in what depth means to them in relation to SUPERVIVE. And so I think let's start with what I think the most superficial, ironically enough, version of depth is to the community. I think that depth is often a crutch word. And it is a crutch word that is deployed when a player feels like there is something lacking, that a player feels like there is something missing, or that there should be something more, and they don't quite know how to quantify it. They just say, it's not deep. There's not enough depth. And then in true rated fashion, as he often does when he wants to dig deeper on these different things. What do you mean by that? Tell me more. Explain more. Jess will also do this in the various threads for all of these patches. And so I think you've got that version of depth. Just an explain away that you're not entirely happy with the situation. I think you've then got people who genuinely look at depth. And I feel like I fall into this camp as well, where it might be overall progression. It might be overall gameplay. We had Sprokane, of course, on the last episode, where we're talking about trios versus squads. To me, I think that there is, without a doubt, less depth in roster composition, for example, because you are removing one player.
Mm-hmm.
It is A leading to B, an action leading to a result. And I also look at the various hours that you put into SUPERVIVE, and for me, a lack of depth means that you play it for, say, 5 to 10 hours, and then past that, there's not really much bringing you back except a pure love of the game, a pure interest in completing a battle pass. Even a battle pass does not equal depth for a game. Mechanics and itemization and hunter kits, that's what depth means to a load of people. It's what depth means to me. And as I say, I think that sometimes is lost in the I'm not entirely sure I like where SUPERVIVE is going category. And so I'll open the floor to you guys. Is there any agreement there? What are your perspectives on depth in this game? And I guess just to add a little addendum to this, I hope you won't mind, Anion, do you feel like SUPERVIVE is a deep enough game right now to satisfy?
Okay, so yes and no. I agree with depth being used as a catch-all because people don't quite have other ways to express, or they can't figure out another way to express what they're really feeling. I agree. There is the notion of depth in a game to keep it relevant. Again, I come from a Smash Bros. Melee background. It's been the longest running competitive fighting game with a very active scene. And I accredit a lot of that to the game's depth. The depth being hidden tech that has been found and still being found to this day that expands a little bit and raises that ceiling. Talk about depth and here's ceilings. Raises the ceiling just a little higher so people have something else to achieve. You know, it's like, oh, we've got wave dashing. Oh, we've got wave landing. Oh, we can do this out of shield. Oh, we can use this to cancel moves. It's very difficult, but it keeps people coming back because now you'll spend 10 hours in training just to practice one move.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that time or willingness to do it, but it's kept the game relevant. You'll also see it with, let's say, speedrunning, for example. If you've watched any summoning salt video, it's like, how are they going to break the 3-minute mark for an arbitrary number? It's like, how are they going to get sub 3? They discover this. And that depth to a speedrun keeps people coming back. Does SUPERVIVE have this depth currently? It has a lot of depth to it, but I don't know if it's enough just yet, and the devs are aware of that. And I'm glad that they've kept a lot of it in the dark to keep it that surprise. But you do have, at least in the realm of tech skill, there is some depth. Yes, they got rid of pod racing. Yes, they got rid of some Bebo tech, which I know we're going to cover a little bit later. But even subtle things like feathering your glider so you can actually make it over higher obstacles. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, you drop really low in the abyss. You glide up until you hit where you see your little balloon. You let go, and the momentum carries your hunter up high, and you can clear a higher pass. So if you're trying to escape, it's a great thing because those chasing you can't get over it. They see it, and those players go, how did they escape? I need to learn how to do that. Thus, we introduce a little more depth to the game. So I love depth. I don't think SUPERVIVE at its current way doesn't quite have it, but I also acknowledge that it's very difficult to add depth while keeping the barrier to entry very mild and very easy to kind of dip your toes and get your ankles in the water to see if it's something you like without making it just too high of a hurdle.
It's a tough one because it's like, do I think that SUPERVIVE has depth right now? Yes. But I also am of the opinion that when you are a new game, you don't want to have too much. As in, like, you don't want it to look scary. You don't want
Sure.
you don't want the game to look like it is so much going on that you're not going to be able to pick it up that quickly. That's like the whole idea of having a new game. You want to make it inviting and enticing towards newer players, that they're not going to get overwhelmed when they join, but you also want to make it so that people who are willing to put that time in are still going to be rewarded. It's a very tricky balancing act, right? Like, as a game has been out for longer, the complexity, the depth that you can have in a lot of things, it can grow, it can expand. But I think that right now, SUPERVIVE has decent depth to it. Do I think it could go further? Yeah, I do. I do think that there are areas, I've talked about it before, like my whole idea of having more customization within your own builds when it comes to your abilities before. I guess you have items, but the items still aren't that deep either. You can only get 2 of them, so it's not like builds are going to be that complex. Powers are really probably the most complex you're going to get. But even that, I feel like right now, at least on open beta, people have kind of figured out how a lot of the powers are, which ones they want for most things. And so I'm curious to see how Theorycraft is going to tackle that going forward. But I actually think that there is a little, like, there's a little lacking in like the depth of SUPERVIVE just with the removal of squads. You kind of hit that as well. And I'm a big fan of squads still. I love squads, but I do like trios too. I think trios is still fun, but losing a little bit of the team building that you can have with utilizing different compositions, and that way was lost by losing squads. So now Theorycraft is like, how do you bounce back and add that depth that you lost from squads into 1.0? And I am curious to see how they're going to tackle that. We've talked about it before, the armory. What does that mean? What is going to come? We've heard like whispers, and we're like, okay, there are cool ideas coming, but once we fully see what 1.0 entails, that's when we know just how deep they're willing to go and how much depth they're going to add to the game.
Undoubtedly, this will shock a few people. I absolutely think that there isn't enough depth in the game. Yes, you heard that right. Reliq doesn't think that there is enough depth in the game, even after 8 months of playtesting. Do you know why there wasn't enough depth in the game, or the telltale sign that there wasn't enough depth in the game on open beta? Because it failed on open beta launch. 50,000 CCU, pretty decent start. It fell off very, very quickly. I know there was mitigating factors, but I think that anyone who tells you that SUPERVIVE open beta failed because of Marvel Rivals and Path of Exile is kind of deluded. It didn't survive because it wasn't a good enough game at the time. And I think that's okay, because now we've had iterations and changes through open beta. We've made the significant seismic move to trios, which admittedly, again, this is one of the opening points, it's removed depth, but I think it is more enjoyable from a new player perspective. And if you make that entry gate, as you say, Magical, more appealing, it means that you can add depth back in other places and make the overall SUPERVIVE experience far more rewarding the more time you spend in it. And so that's the lesson. I think that's honestly the biggest lesson that needed to be learned. And it's why I know there's a few people who are very scared about the big words, and we will touch upon now the press release of SUPERVIVE 1.0. But I think that's why people are scared, and perhaps why they shouldn't be, because we got to be real. We haven't hit 1,000 CCU in a while, at least on Steam. This game needed reinvention.
It did.
And that is what is being promised. SUPERVIVE 1.0 launches July 24th, 2025. More accurately, it launches July 24th, 2025 in Asia, in China. It is releasing concurrently around the world, which means that for example, I live in the United Kingdom, where these lads live over in the United States, it is actually going to be releasing July 23rd. For me, it's 11 p.m. and we're going to be doing a VIVE live. Kind of. I mean, it's just going to be us playing SUPERVIVE or whoever we can get in. But we're going to be doing a live stream when it launches. It's going to be super exciting. But there is more. So the servers actually go offline fully for a complete week. And spoiler alert, this is why you will have seen the likes of Abyssal Cup 5 and the Euros tournament from the EU scrims. A bunch of these tournaments that were planning to happen and then weren't happening. This is why those tournaments have been moved or have been cancelled, because there are going to be no servers to play on. So that's July 17th, upon which there will also be a preview video amongst, I'm sure, plenty of other marketing bits and bobs that we'll be seeing across various different social platforms. We are going to be adjusting the next VIVE episode to release after this video, so it's probably going to be a weekend episode if you're interested in keeping track. And to compensate, because obviously this means that the Battle Pass ends a week after the servers go down, every single individual, every single Battle Pass owner is going to be compensated with 200,000 EXP. That's huge. That's amazing. Before we get into the meat and bones of this press release, how are we feeling? It is less than a month away.
Oh, it's finally going to be here. Like, we've been excited. We've been teased about it for so long. Hearing the whispers in the shadows, we've just been like, okay, what's actually going to be in 1.0? Obviously, we don't know full details. We had one thing that was announced that we'll talk about in a little bit with Wukong getting announced, and I'm excited to have new hunters. Like, that's been a big thing too. Like, wanting to see what new hunters that Theorycraft has been cooking to add into SUPERVIVE, and this is something, you know, it's kind of touching again back on the depth conversation we had before, where it's like one thing I'm excited about. It's like, if it's going to be Wukong, that means that it's going to be built around a lot of movement. And I come from League of Legends, where mobility creep was a big thing. It's a problem in League of Legends. SUPERVIVE is a game that said, I see that movement creep is a problem in League because it's not a game built around that. So let's build a game around movement, so it's a lot more fun. And that's what I like about SUPERVIVE. So it adds the depth that way, where you have all these different ways to move around fights and to go around the map that are just really fun to play. So I'm so happy.
How am I feeling? Cool, calm, collect.
Sure,
Nice.
of course you are.
Don't. Yeah. I am firmly in my seat. I am in no way bouncing up and down and desperately fighting to just stay still at the very thought of this game coming out. This is great. I'm happy with how they've presented this. I love the excitement, and I also want to go back to something you had just touched on, and that was the notion of open beta failed. I like to remind myself of two things. Well, it's the same concept, just phrased two different ways. The first being, you learn more from a loss than you do a win.
Yeah.
The game failed. The game, besides the diehards and the true blue, like, we're in it no matter what, we're already bought in, as Steven Ader put it in that one post. Like, yeah, it failed. But I think it's a good thing ultimately, because now they realize, like, oh, we need to make a drastic change to get that 10,000 hour game. The other quote being from Batman, "Why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up again."
Ooh. Let's do a trio of quotes here. I'll add one. I'll throw one in from. Is it one of my favorites? I don't know. There are some things I don't like about the movie, but what I will say is that I am very much a Last Jedi enjoyer. I think it's really cool the direction that a lot of those characters went in, and I think that they ruined Star Wars for me with Episode 9 by going so hard into nostalgia. Episode 7, not getting away with it either. Anyway, point is, there's a quote in that movie which I enjoy as well, from the legend himself, Master Yoda: "Failure, the greatest teacher is." And so it's basically saying what you are. Just packaged differently, and it's really interesting as well how they're going to be approaching marketing. So there was a little message in the Discord by, shout out to the incredible enigma that is Pwiff. Worth reading out, I think, actually. A message dedicated to the hardcore players, so the people who are still active on the Discord server, of course, and join the Discord server. It's probably a good time to do so now. While we have brought in a very small handful of folks to check out our 1.0 changes, we're going into this launch with a healthy amount of surprise and delight. Which, first and foremost, you could argue, if you're pessimistic, they got to put a brave face on it because they want this game to succeed, but surprise and delight are quite authentic words to use, I feel, as well. So we'll take them at face value. Also, we put a smiley face at the end of that, so coming from Pwiff, I think that's a pretty good thing. Yeah, agreed. With so much noise in the world, and us as a small studio with limited marketing budget, this time around, we're opting to do a short, high-level campaign for 1.0 that focuses on one simple message. SUPERVIVE has been reinvented. Come try it out. This means on the road to 1.0, we're deliberately keeping things high level so that everyone can discover together on launch day. We appreciate you coming along for the ride. And so I think this kind of links in with the fact that the servers are going offline for 1 week, and we are promised a video on July 17th detailing 1.0 changes. It feels like rather than trying to draw out the hype over the next month, they're actually going to zone in on that one single week and go for the Hail Mary. I don't know how I feel about that, personally speaking, but I also feel like word of mouth is a very powerful tool, and if this game and its reinvention walks the walk, nobody should be scared. And according to Theorycraft themselves, they're actually quite delighted.
Honestly, I was expecting the servers to go down before 1.0. Like, it was the only thing that, to me, made sense. Like, it honestly, even with, like, most beta games, like, even if your game was, like, super successful, you're gonna want to make sure that you have your servers that you have for the live ones ready anyways. So it's, like, even, like, a day downtime would make sense. So taking the week to really, like, hone in on that, plus building the hype going into the 24th, like, or 23rd, depending on where you are, is, like, I think a proper move from them. I'm okay with it. I'm really, it makes me more excited, and it just makes me realize that I need to take work off that day.
I think I'm I think I'm coming down with something too.
Yeah, me too. In
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah, me too.
Was it Zoolander? I think I've got a case of the black lung, Pa.
Yep. I think I got the black lung.
So,
go on.
Oh no, I just, to piggyback, as a player and an avid enjoyer of the game, I'm devastated that the servers will be down for a week, but I get it. On the other hand, I get to go back to how it was during alpha, where it's like 3-4 weeks at a time, no games. So we're just watching. Like, I literally, everybody's talking about, oh, what game are you going to play during that week? I'm like, I'm just going to watch tournaments. Like, I love this game so much. I'm going to rewatch all the content that I missed prior. But one of the lessons I think learned from the open beta, for those who remember on day one, it was actually not a smooth launch in regards to servers. Games were crashing, people were in panic mode, and there's that, I forget where they mentioned it, but one of the devs didn't go to their release party in California and stayed home in case there was a tech issue. And sure enough, while Joe Tung was giving his speech about we've made a good game, and they have, I still love it, they were actively like doing I guess I should say metaphorically putting out the fires because servers were going down, people weren't able to play the game, and that's a problem. But that's open beta. This is 1.0. This is like that initial impression is huge. And so I respect that they are doing everything they can to make sure the servers, the game, everything is as dialed in as this small studio can make it for the smoothest possible release, because that you don't want to lose half of your initial player base because the game is crashing. So yeah, I respect them shutting it down for a week. I respect them going for the Hail Mary, push it, like really push the marketing for that first week of release. And God, I hope it works out. I love this game. Please play this game.
I will say, I think that there is a lot of comfort in long, not too long. Like, we're not talking about Elder Scrolls, whatever number it is on now. I can't even remember the number of the game. It's been like years since we've heard from it. Sometimes it works with stuff like The Last Guardian, where it was a decade after it was released and it sort of became this forgotten game and then it rose from the ashes. But I actually think that there is a tendency where you look at long campaigns and you automatically think that's going to guarantee success. Look at some of the games that have gone viral with barely any word of a whisper. Rocket League, Among Us,
yeah.
Balatro. All of these games had barely any length of marketing campaign outside of their circles, outside of the people who actually knew about them. Because, of course, Rocket League had a predecessor, and so people were aware that a sequel to that game was coming. Balatro, inform me otherwise. I'm pretty sure barely anybody saw that one coming along and exploding in the way
I think the creator of that one, too, even said he's like, he made the game and expected, like, his friends and family only to play it.
Right, yeah. And yet, Game of the Year contender. So, without getting too frisky, it's not about how long your marketing strategy is, it's about how you use it. And so I think that, especially with the message of reinvention, I think that's absolutely the right way to go. Although there might be people questioning, wait, reinvention? Wait, what does this actually mean? Game mode? Like, number? So, what we've been told is it's a total transformation of the game. This is the official press release, by the way. With a comprehensive overhaul of progression, game structure, the map, the client, and more. All built on top of SUPERVIVE's free-flowing lethal combat core. Now, unless there has been a major shift in direction, one of the consistent elements of developer messaging to us as a player base, first and foremost, has been trios is here to stay. And also that Battle Royale is what SUPERVIVE is. And so, again, don't quote me on it necessarily. I'm not here to shout the horn in the official word, but at least from my reading of this, SUPERVIVE and its core game mode are remaining the same. It is a battle royale. It is going to be trios, but potentially everything else around that is changing. Which we've got the armory, and when we talk about stuff like the client, thanks to a video over on Billy as part of the announcement to Chinese players, we know that the UI is getting updated. And, of course, that's not even beginning to get into the new Hunter, of which I imagine we might get. Obviously, it's like they want to keep to their 12 in the year, and so I imagine that the release windows are going to be compressed as well. But anyway, we got Wukong at the very least coming with 1.0. We've got a skin line coming with 1.0, and like these are superficial changes. As has been mentioned by Pwiff, they want to keep the proper changes, it feels like, until that release week.
So, if there's map changes, does that mean that bullet trains are going to go faster and have 5 of them?
I don't know, man. I don't know, man.
I'm about to lose a dear friend, but I was thinking about that this week, and I'm so sorry to railroad our conversation here, Reliq.
Railroad.
I think I couldn't help myself. I think sped up bullet trains would make that storm shift less desirable.
Oh no.
Because unless it hit a point.
Are you trying to break us apart, Twin? Is this what's happening now?
No. This is old love. Hear me out. I was thinking about it. Part of my joy, and I thought about this because I mentioned this to you yesterday. While playing a solo queue game, my last surviving teammate dashed into the tracks, and we were laughing, but it's because of the concept of the tracks are not a dangerous place until they are. So if the bullet trains are just nonstop like that, you're always hyper aware that I shouldn't be on these tracks. So it's the premise of safety that makes it more appealing. So I think sped up, yes, or more, yes, but there needs to be a cap to make people not afraid to dance on the train tracks.
Well, look, now the bullet trains only go faster when they kill people. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So it's like, so it has to already do that. That's the only way it gets truly dangerous.
Twin, Magical's already balanced this. It's all in his head.
Okay, and
It works. It works. Trust me. Trust the process.
I trust the process. I literally did this because I just wanted to like stir the pot a hair and make sure that you stand true
all
to
I
your
heard was
convictions.
everything when you're at the other. I just heard bullet trains. Yes.
I appreciate the rage bait, Twin. I honestly do.
No.
I mean, we brought
No,
Sprokane
no,
on
no.
2 weeks ago. I was expecting him to go all in. I hate trios, as he did on Twitter. I saw you, Sprokane. And then he's like, oh, it's okay. I think that it's not as good as Squad. I wanted the spice. I wanted the curry. And it wasn't served. But I tell you what will be served. If you have played SUPERVIVE at least once, still time to download the game, folks. Before launch, that is. You get an exclusive Rooty Wisp. It's the carrot with the big butt, which, as we learned from our lovely lore interview with Justin Grote, the wisp is an expression of one's soul. So if you feel like a carrot with a big butt who gets very upset all the time, this is probably the one for you. You also get a champion call sign, which is pretty good. And for all of us who have played 40 hours or more in the game, we get an exclusive glider, the OG, which is a refreshed, updated version of the very first glider that they made for this game. Super cool. And an exclusive title, the Theory Crafter. You're one of us now, they say. So get on SUPERVIVE, even if it's just to load it up and play the game once. You get some free stuff going into 1.0, which I never think is a bad thing. But some people think that this Wukong fella, right? Some people think this Wukong fella is a bad thing. And, I can understand the frustration. We've talked about genre burnout before, and it's possibly one of SUPERVIVE's core flaw issues. Crux is that it is a battle royale. It's a very overdone genre. Yeah, and it's also a MOBA in certain regards, a very, very overdone genre, so mix the two together. Are you really getting something new? But Wukong has been in a lot of games, let alone being the star character in one of the Game of the Year contenders last year. So is this Monkey Man welcome? Is it dependent on the kit? Is this purely a ploy to appeal to the Chinese audience with myths and legends? We know, of course, from her interview with Billy's SUPERVIVE account, Jess loves Wukong and loves Ari and loves... You could see the influence from the top trickling down into the design. I don't know, as long as it's a fun character, I don't care.
So, if I may...
Go on.
When it comes to Wukong... I personally, and I think the lore is fascinating. I love the concept. I love everything about that. But when it comes to Wukong as a playable character in games, I have never really cared. Like it's not
fair
a character I've ever dabbled in playing. My limited league time was like I scrolled right past him. I did play the recent Wukong game, and I honestly, due to invisible walls more than anything else, I didn't finish it. I just didn't care. That having been said, because it's not a character for me, doesn't mean I don't want it in the game. Because there are going to be people out there who are losing their minds that their favorite character from story from their other favorite games is now available to play in SUPERVIVE. I love that. I love that somebody out there, and hopefully multiple people, but at least somebody out there saw this, and it's enough for them to say, like, I am never playing another Hunter in SUPERVIVE. I am Wukong, ride or die. And that's great. It adds to the overall Hunter pool for those who are the naysayers saying there's not enough characters to play. It takes time. Let them cook. But yeah, beyond everything else, I hope the hunter is fun. I hope he's balanced, which is such a tricky thing to pull off. But there will be those out there who are so excited to have Wukong in the game, and I love this for them. I am all for it.
I personally, I understand like many reasons why you add a hunter like Wukong. One, we were talking about the popularity, but there is that kind of hidden one that people don't like to talk about. Is that it's easy to add something that you see in another MOBA, because like especially if you're planning to release a lot of hunters, because what it has been done and it's based off of actual mythology, so it's not like it's a copyrightable thing. It exists, so you can have a kit that is similar to a lot of other games to then get those players from other games interested, as we were kind of talking about. It's like getting people to look at this, go, oh, that's my vibe, I want to play that. So it will help to kind of bring people over from other MOBAs, go, oh, hey, it's essentially the same character but in SUPERVIVE now. Better game than a lot of them. But it's like that's one aspect, but the other obviously is that Wukong is popular, especially among people who know the mythology. People really do like to hear about, like, see that kind of character and be able to live that fantasy out through video games. Like, I was talking with my wife about this, and I was asking her her thoughts on Wukong, and she's like, it's okay. It's like, yeah, it's in a lot of things. It's like, I wish, and she wishes that they use different things from Chinese mythology. Like, the Jaw would be a pretty cool one as well. She was mentioning, if you don't know that, like, there's been the animated movie that got the #1 box for animated movies recently, took that away from Inside Out 2. But like, there are different characters, and I wouldn't mind seeing that. But when it comes to like how SUPERVIVE is now, needing more of a roster, having something that has been done and has been done so successfully in other games, it's just easy to kind of put into your game and say, hey, this is why you should play it. We have something that is familiar for you to see, and you know, like, how it's essentially going to work.
I think it's very evident. Like, if you were to ask me, I've got a batch of hunters or hunter ideas. What do we want our face for 1.0 to be? Wukong, as a concept, doesn't excite me. It's a staff monkey. It's always a staff monkey. And even if it played like one of my favorite League of Legends characters, Jax, to kind of subvert expectation, I wouldn't really care so much, because I want something unique to SUPERVIVE. I want a crazy robot man. I want Eva. You know, like, I look at those past releases. I want Bebo. Like, any of those, any of the open beta releases, I'm thinking that's a way cooler introductory hunter for 1.0, because it is something wholly unique to the game. However, the major caveat here is I am talking from a Western perspective, where we have seen Wukong, and basically a bunch of us are like you, 2NA, could not care a jot. Cool, he's the inspiration for Goku from Dragon Ball Z. Like, or Dragon Ball just in general. Like, that's the most you get out of me for Wukong as a myth, as a legend. I love that that's the inspiration and it comes from myth and legend in the first place. That's a cool note. But look at when they made the official announcement for the release date. Look at when the official release date time is. Theorycraft have been blessed with the ability to release this game in China. The closed beta has now come to a conclusion. I think it's roughly, what, 5.5 million registers in the end. An insane number. Even if half of those played it for one match and decided it wasn't for them, that's still 2.5 million people who played it for more than one match. Crucial feedback going into 1.0. I think it is absolutely well within their rights to look at this region and say, we need to push for this audience, because on this audience alone, it could prop up the rest of the world. That, I think, is the Wukong reason, for me, at least. And at the end of the day, if he plays cool, I'm going to be delighted with him regardless, and I'm right there with you as well, Magical. More hunters, please, anyway. Thank you very much. Not that more hunters would have, I think, done much to make Abyssal Cup 4. any better than it was. We looked at Abyssal Cup 2. For the lore and historians amongst you, the greatest tournament of all time in SUPERVIVE to date. Incredible finale. 3 teams in it, could not have been closer. Aurora, a team that wins or gets through to day 2 by 1 single point, goes on to win the entire thing in extraordinary fashion. It was unbelievable. And then this tournament came along where the top 3 teams after 8 games were separated by 1 single point, of which the top 2 were on the same point. We had to go to placement count back, and the team with 3 wins back to back to back were the team that won, that being the 29ers. Words escape me in describing those 8 games alone. And that's not even including day 1, by the way, which is incredible in its own right.
Like, day 1, like, if we're just going to go in order, already had big upsets. The Shies, the Cookers, 2 teams that we've seen, and we love these players for. We've seen them so many times, always get into the finals. Not get into the finals, getting upset in the group stage. Not, like, and the wild thing is, like, the teams that were able to make it through, being What the Hell and Les Trois Mousquetaires, like, teams that we've seen before, but haven't really been able to make it to that second day in the past. Upsetting expectations by making it through. You have another one with Miss 200 beating out Singularity by a single point. Like, that was wild. That was wild.
So, after Abyssal Cup 2, knowing how well that tournament just went, how fun it was, how down to the wire, the very last play with the Bishop pulling something out of thin air, making miracles out of nothing. I was excited, and I'm sorry to reference something outside of SUPERVIVE, but when you announced Abyssal Cup 4, I felt like that scene from Hook, where all the Lost Boys are chanting, Rufio, Rufio! And you're just waiting and you're hoping, and sure enough, in comes this amazing character that exceeds the hype. And it's like, that's how I felt with Abyssal Cup 4, because I knew Europe always delivers. It's what they do. And sure enough, it beyond stuck the landing. It far exceeded expectations. And so I'm just chuckling to myself because, again, I'm picturing Rufio, this random kid, being the coolest thing in the world, and Abyssal Cup 4 being the greatest tournament we've had to date. It was phenomenal. And I think it was Sinoid it posted in one of the Discords, I hope I'm not misattributing this, but they said, will we finally have a European tournament, or can we have a European tournament where we know who the winner is immediately after the final game? To which I said, I hope not. Because for the players, it's stressful. For the casters, it's exciting. For the viewers,
casters and viewers,
it's the best.
oh my god. Yeah.
Yes. We have a blast. And I know that I was listening in while trying to get stuff done, and I heard Zik start freaking out, and I immediately dropped everything I was doing, went into the production because I couldn't wait the 30 seconds for the spoiler or to find out what the score was. And when I saw it, I was just like, I need to talk to somebody. I need to message my brother. I need to get me back in this call. I'm screaming right now. It was so good. Everybody played out of their minds. It was so fun. Everybody just go to twitch.tv/justreliq and rewatch the day 2 VODs. Rewatch day 1 while you're at it. That was peak SUPERVIVE. And to have that to lead into 1.0, like, I hope people go back and watch this and realize, like, oh my gosh, the competitive scene can look like this. It's so good.
It was so good.
I want to reference depth again, because I think that imagining SUPERVIVE with more depth from this point forward is very exciting. And I know that there's been often quite vocal moments from the developers where they don't want it to be competitive focused. And I think that's the right call. It should be wide audience focused. There should be a lot of people playing this game to enjoy the very natural evolution into competitive side of it. This game is outside. I mean, we look at 17 points separating the entire top half of the table.
Yeah.
I went back and checked Abyssal Cup 2 for reference. 20 full points separated first to fourth. So it's got closer with 12 less teams as well. So it was 36 for Abyssal Cup 2, 24 for Abyssal Cup 4. I've not checked the American Abyssal Cups. But the American Abyssal Cups are also quite... They're very definitively like 2-horse races. Best case scenario. Even Abyssal Cup 1 was just last door and they flew off into the distance and were never seen again, really. There were some potential challenges. But when you have surprises, like, as you mentioned, Magical, like the Cookers and the Shies, top 10 seeded teams not making it through today too. The Three Little Pigs, second seeded team, not even in the top half of this final series. And then, of course, there's a tragic story of the Stormbreakers. They've been #1 seed for Battle Hub tournaments for a good 2 months now. And they're going to exit open beta with no tournament victories. It's astonishing.
Literally one kill. One better placement in a game separated them from the win.
They had bugs as well. They had bugs in the game. I saw Deboreko and the Bishop getting bugged a couple of times.
Yeah, getting pushed into the storm. Then as a wisp, it just kept getting... It was a Celeste Ice Wall bug.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. Sprokane sent me the link while I was casting. But I appreciate it just to show, like, hey, he was trying to reposition, got bugged. So it's almost like the fates have decided Stormbreakers are just not allowed to win. And I feel so sad for them because they played out of their minds. They were aggressive and they set the tempo and the pace for the rest of the lobby because of their aggression. Everybody had to be redlining it. It felt like at all times because Stormbreakers are coming after you and you need to be ready. And so the fact that they did so much in spite of like the unfortunate circumstances, it's tragic. And same with the Red Frogs, who just needed that last fight. They needed to clutch it out. But we also asked at the very beginning, did the 29ers do enough? Because all 3 of their hunters got banned in the second half.
Yeah.
And sure enough, just by the actual slimmest of margins, they did enough.
But they also got 3 wins. That's the big thing to me. Like, bugs or no bugs, you know, it sucks. It's open beta. You know, there's these things happen.
Yeah.
Stormbreaker still didn't win a single game. They were second, third, fifth.
True.
They didn't win one. They win one of those games. That's it. They win. But 29ers, they did do them. They performed in the first half, and it was barely enough, but it was enough nonetheless. Similar to what the last door had. When we go back to the America Abyssal Cup for Abyssal Cup 3, the last door dominated in the first half. First, second. Then in the second half, third, sixth, fifth. But that gave them a 12-point lead still over Moonlit Battlegrounds, who looked a little stronger in the second half. For fun, was way too far behind them as well. So many of these teams in NA just were way too far behind the last door. I mean, it just goes to show you got to pick up at least one of those wins, because without them, you're just praying for a miracle in points.
To reference day one, though, even in this region, unless you are in the count-back position, a win sometimes isn't enough. Because we saw Fools Behind Incidents become the first team not to qualify for day 2 with a win under their belt.
So crazy.
I mean, but they also had 10th, 8th, 9th finishes beforehand, you know? It still goes into that. Like, one win is nice, but you also need to be... you need to make sure you're doing better in the other games. Obviously, it is Battle Royale. You cannot guarantee that. Sometimes you just have bad positions where you are surrounded by 4 other teams, which happened a lot during this tournament. I mean, what was it, game 4 of the finals, where we had that wild play from the 29ers where they were on that island surrounded by 4 teams, yet somehow they won that game? It's like it's kind of one of those things. You got to sometimes take fate by the horns.
So not only that, and that's the game I was going to reference. If I remember right, I think Stormbreakers went out 5th that game as well. So we're talking about the performance.
That was game 3.
Oh, that was game 3. Okay, my mistake.
They were second in game 4.
Yeah.
Oh, good for them. I just remember, 29ers found themselves in horrible positions in endgame, surrounded by multiple enemy teams, getting jumped on, having to figure out some Hail Mary miracle play, and yet they kept doing it, whereas Stormbreakers couldn't clutch it out. The Red Frogs were not consistent enough with clutching it out. So yeah, I do think the 29ers 1000% deserved that win because they just had horrible situations thrown their way and managed to traverse it just the entire stretch. And you also referenced other teams that were upset. Three Little Pigs, Aiden.
That's crazy.
The arguably longest standing best player in the game, or at least on the Mount Rushmore of best players, getting in the bottom half. And the fun fact from Ilario, the top 6 teams all came from Group A.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It is wild. It is wild that it went literally perfectly split like that.
But you know, it's so in football soccer, we have a stat called XG, expected goals. And so basically these computers and statisticians, they analyze the chance of a goal being converted. And so, for example, if you have scored 1 goal, but your XG is like 0.1, then you've done incredibly well, because from a really like tiny chance of converting that goal, you have. And it goes the other way. So if you haven't scored any goal, but you have 3 XG, then it's almost insane that you've not even converted 1 when you should have 3 goals to your name. And there's kind of an equivalent here, because part of the tournament, it was sponsored by Main Jam, so we have the Tom Kick Regretti Award, which is basically like Twin A's Most Kills Award, or what was it, the Chicken Nugget Meal Award?
The Chicken Nugget Meal, yeah.
You get a reward for getting the most kills. And in this case, it was a t-shirt with the Tom Kick Regret meme from when he accidentally closed down a server doing scrims. It was hilarious,
so
very
funny.
memeable, excellent moment, 10 out of 10. And for reference, Niza from the Red Frogs won that award comfortably. 42 kills across both days. Insane numbers. Even when the Red Frogs were struggling, this dude was putting out an unreal kill total. Like, they struggled, in truth. So, nods to Niza. But when you look at where the Three Little Pigs are in regard to KP total, all 3 of them technically are in the top 3. Shroom was I think Shroom was 5th. Both Akalinks and Aiden BY sharing the 10th place spot with 19 kills each. And I want to say they were the only team with all 3 members in that top 3 outside of Stormbreakers.
That's wild. Like, Three Little Pigs, even looking at like their kills, right? Like game 1, they were 10th place. They still had 5 kills.
Yeah.
Like, you look at that and you're like, okay. You see that again, like they got 7 kills while in 6th for game 4, 5 kills with 6 for game 5, 5 kills with 9th place for game 6. They were a team that was always fighting. They were always scrapping. Just unfortunately, that doesn't always mean you're going to win.
No. And actually, Red Frogs had the opposite problem, where, especially in the back half, they flew off in terms of placements. 4th, 2nd, 1st, 3rd, back to back to back. But actually, their KP totals weren't impressive when you compare it to the likes of 29ers with 2 double-digit numbers to combine with 2 of their wins. Stormbreakers with 2 instances of 13 kills. In Game 7, they had 15.
Yeah.
The highest KP total of anyone on that day in any individual game, but they only got 3rd. And again, these are the fine margins. They take 2nd place in that game, they win the tournament. And actually, in VOD review, it's Game 6 for me. It was a game where both 29ers and Stormbreakers struggled. It was the Glider Engines game that you might remember.
That was wild.
And I want to say, on the Krista, Ori eliminated Detbarek, and by virtue, the Stormbreakers. That 1 kill gives the 29ers 1 extra point, which ties them with Stormbreakers.
That's wild. That's
Please
wild.
watch it. And I promise, I know I've been memeing about this for the last couple of months. I actually have a video ready to upload now.
Okay,
Abyssal
good.
Cup 1, Group A, is on the way. I can't guarantee anything else. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually going to dedicate so much time to making sure that these VODs go up. So we'll have High Vive out today on Wednesday. And then I'm thinking I start the Abyssal Cup upload schedule on Friday. And so very soon, all of the Abyssal Cup action from Abyssal Cup 1 Group A to the finals here of Abyssal Cup 4, and fingers crossed Abyssal Cup 5 as well. I will talk about that in a bit. They're all going to be up on Simply Just Reliq on YouTube. Mucho grande. Speaking of Abyssal Cup 5, we are currently at 11 teams. Now, we've got from this point, we will only have 4 days left to sign up. I've been talking with my wonderful admin team on this, the likes of Cinnamon and Mr. Sue and Frosty and Leewind, and essentially there is a concern that if you're not going to win, you shouldn't sign up, or that because there's prize money, this is a very super serious sweaty tournament. Some people are going to take it super serious sweaty, but here's the thing, you don't have to. If you are interested in competing against Asian teams from outside of Asia, if you are interested in sharing your love of SUPERVIVE, in just giving it a go for the hell of it, I'd super encourage it. If we don't hit 24 teams, that puts us in a slightly precarious position because either the event is outright cancelled or it has to be shrunk, which most likely means that the prize pool is shrunk along with it. So I promise that I can do my best as a TO to make sure that something still happens, but there is no guarantee. The only guarantee is if we hit those 24 teams. So tell your friends about it. Even if you're an EU team playing on stupid ping or a South American team playing on stupid ping, your sign-up could make the difference. Let's make it an international affair. Even if you end up losing, it'll be a bit of fun. So thank you all, and thank you everyone who turned up for Abyssal Cup 4, by the way, including these 2 lovely gents who casted their hearts out. It was wonderful. Was this patch... A what?
I like yelling at games.
Me too.
Same.
It's a lot of fun. Not much to yell about with this patch, though. So, June 25th, 5 days ago, we got the smallest patch in SUPERVIVE history. It's all bug fixes. I don't even feel like we need to spend more than 5 minutes on this. We know what this is in service of. It's 1.0. This is the full patch for 1.0. We got a load of Bebo fixes. We got a load of Void fixes. Embry Bolt on Felix VFX now closely matches the spell's functional width. Ghost and Saros no longer have their model hidden when interrupting recall. Shrike got a couple of changes. Sneaking in Death Circle no longer causes the player to remain stuck in the sneak aim down sight state. Bosses now move again. Sweet. And any more to add to that? Bebo's in shambles. Well, actually, yes. The fact that they removed I think this is the main thing. Bebo can no longer speed himself up during Tonk Tonk, his ultimate, by yoinking himself forward with Pull Zeep. I'm speaking to you, Theorycraft. I'm actually really disappointed that they removed this from the game. Because I thought that it was genuinely very entertaining tech that's actually quite difficult to make any value out of. But when it did work, absolute cinema.
Yeah, but they've just figured a better way. They just use bungee shot now. Have you not seen
true.
the plays with bungee shot Bebos?
That's been a thing since before
It's
even
been a thing,
this
but
tech
people are
was
just like,
discovered.
oh, let's just go back to that. That's just as effective.
That's true. I wish that they found a way to keep this in and just kind of slowed it down, because the main worry was that it was unreactable. If Bebo does this, you're kidnapped. Sorry, tonk tonk, get in everybody. Um, so if they found a way to keep this sped up, but not okay, but not as fast, then that's more tech, which adds more depth for Bebo mains who want to keep coming back because they're going to be practicing this and get that much more satisfaction when they're able to hit the tech. So I understand why they removed it. I'm just a little sad.
Yeah. Good job on the bug fixes. Fingers crossed Saros gets fixed more permanently at some point.
Yeah.
Bless him. Like Saros is starting to pop up now. I'd love to see them have a bit more impact in competitive alongside general bug, because I think, and honestly, just to reflect a little more on Abyssal Cup, I realize we're in the bug section, but it was a shame to actually see bugs affecting the outcome of matches. Like, it could happen to anyone, and one of the most crazy bugs that happened that didn't actually have an impact long term was MST 200 in that final game only dropped with 2. Revel was hard stuck, and then he spawned, and so they were able to continue on with 3 players. MST 200 went on to win that game. So at the end of the day, we don't want competitive matches being affected by bugs, but we've also got to consider that just in general, the playing public doesn't want to lose a game because of a bug. So these are important things that Theorycraft are doing in the lead up to 1.0.
Yeah, I appreciate too that they do make that note in there, that disclaimer of like, hey, we're fixing these bugs in our 1.0 build, and then retroactively moving the coding, whatever, to fix the beta. It's like, we're doing this for your quality of life, but seriously, head in the ground, trying to focus, make sure that 1.0 is as stellar as possible. So I still genuinely appreciate that. It's like, all right, for the couple weeks we have left to play this in open beta, let's fix a few things for you. Keep everybody smiling.
I mean, it's good. Like, it's never going to be bad to fix bugs unless you make a bigger bug. That's the only time. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine. And I think that it's like you were just saying, Twin. It's throwing everyone a bone. Just be like, all right, we're working on things, but we're more focused on 1.0.
And that's where our focus is going to be. We reached the end of VIVE number 6. I just fancied a cursory look at China. Not 5.5, 5.8 million now.
Oh,
the sign-ups.
How dare you be wrong the first time?
I know,
Shame.
right? Even small teasers can have an effect. I think we are all excited. I think there is definitely cautious optimism, but I think considering that there is a lot of stuff that we have now seen, and yet there is even more to come, and we're promised a complete transformation of this game, I'm just excited to get stuck in and play it now alongside, hopefully, all of you guys at home. Just to reverb off the points that I was saying a little earlier in regards to where VIVE and the channel is going to be going forward. Of course, if you're watching this in retrospect, I guess this doesn't matter. But for you guys who are watching live or within a few days, so I think what we're going to aim for is the next podcast would be due 16th of July. That's kind of awkward for us because the day after the servers go down and that whole 1.0 video goes up. And I think that we'd quite like to talk about that before 1.0 launches. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a weekend VIVE number 7, lucky for some, on, July... Let's aim for July 19th, shall we? The Saturday. Some Saturday VIVE viewing for you and yours truly. And then on the 23rd for UK, EU, technically, and America. For EU, I think it is actually the 24th because it's midnight when the servers go live. We will be doing VIVE Live. It'll be on my channel, but it's going to, I'm hoping, include a bunch of guests. We'll play a bunch of games. We'll check out 1.0 for the first time, and I'll make sure to upload the VOD as like a side VIVE or as a specific VIVE Live. And then we'll be back to our regular schedule back on Wednesdays with VIVE 8. And yes, all of those Abyssal Cup stuff will be going up. So they're going to be relatively long form videos. It's literally going to be entire groups in group stages or the entirety of day 2. So hope you all enjoy it. Please let me know if it's too much or if you'd like them cut up more. I'll adjust in the future. We live and we learn. But for the moment, guys, any final thoughts from you two, from Magical, from Twin A, as we enter end game for open beta? Of course it was. Of course.
I was like, I'm gonna wait, gonna give it, because I love that whistle, and I know I stirred the pot, but I'm such a fan of both of you that it's like, yes, yes, please give us the whistle. Final thoughts. W SUPERVIVE, W Theorycraft, W everybody who watches this, W everybody who supports the game, the content creators, everyone, and even bigger W if they finally give me a Firefighter Felix skin. So, but
that would be the ideal scenario. In the meantime, get your free stuff, everyone. If you've not reached 40 hours yet and you're actually pretty close, or if you're just looking to play a game, get some free stuff for 1.0. I trust that guy that's recently popped up on the subreddit in GIF form. Hop on SUPERVIVE, baby.
Weird.
Hop on SUPERVIVE. And
Jake Braun.
Jake Braun.
Also Jake Braun. So many memes, so much time. Get involved in the subreddit, join the Discord. Much love to you all. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Like the video. That super helps us out with engagement and getting the word out to people. You can expect a lot more content from me personally as well in terms of the 1.0 build up. We got some Hunter guides to get through. We got some reasons to play SUPERVIVE. I'm sure that we will share that all in good time. Take care, everyone. Enjoy yourselves, and bye-bye for now.